All right, West Coast, East Coast. Good to see you again, Brian.
And you, good sir. Happy to see you as well.
Thanks. This is one of my favorite questions, Brian, because I get amazing answers. Influencers come in all sizes, shapes, languages, cultures, whatnot. Who's been an influencer or more than one in your life?
Oh boy, great question. So look, I mean, the hackneyed response is always, my parents have been the greatest influencers in my life. But I will say that two people immediately come to mind. One sort of, as I think about, the growth of my personal character, Mark, and the second, how I have kind of taken that character and applied it to the professional workplace. And so maybe I can share two individuals with you.
Yeah,
First,
please.
it really is, and the hackneyed answer again is your parents. But my father was a really and is a this really remarkable man. He was born and raised in Edinburgh in Scotland, and he was someone who was not born of means by any stretch of the imagination. He lived in a tenement, near downtown Edinburgh, and he went to trade school because, as he said, back in the day, when you were going through grade school, they streamed you. You're the smart kid, Mark, so you're going to university. Finlay, you're the dumb kid. You're going to trade school. And they literally would, it wasn't a self-selection process. It was, they weeded you out. So he was sent to trade school, and he became a welder, and, began working. This is after the war. And he began working in the trades, and he would tells these stories of, his job was at one time working in a brewery. It was the United Kingdom, after all. Working in a brewery, sort of building the the big casks that you brew beer in, this was after the war, and so the economy was in terrible shape. His sister, who was appreciably older than he was, met a Canadian soldier during the war, and she moved to Canada and ultimately married this guy. So my father was coming up. He had these lousy jobs, and so he decided to try to make a better life for himself. So he went to Canada, but of course Canada was in the war for a long time, and so he arrived in Canada. The economy was no hell in Canada at that time either. So he kind of worked. My aunt moved to this farm, and so he lived and worked on a farm. And again, sort of lousy jobs in a canning factory, and so on and so forth. And sorry, that's my dog in the background.
Real life, man.
This is the beauty of Zoom, right? The beauty of Zoom.
I love it.
Apologize. In any case, he worked his way up. He eventually became a teacher, which was the profession that he truly loved. And he would not characterize this way, but it was his ability to kind of give back to future generations, and the importance, think, of that hard work, yes, but also the importance of inspiring others, right, became so central to his persona and his character. It's how he raised my older brothers and I. It's how he, I think, guided his own life and professional experiences. So I took that on board a bit unknowingly, right? You never really understand what your parents give you until it's many years
or a teacher
many years later. Yeah, it's exactly right. So when I eventually moved to Washington, I was brought here by a fellow who has sadly passed away, a gentleman by the name of John Steinbrenner, who was this kind of remarkable man. He was then the director of foreign policy studies at the Brookings Institution, a think tank here in Washington. And he was this remarkable man, just in terms of the breadth of his intellect, his ability to connect big things, big themes, and individuals was truly astonishing. And he did it in ways that were at the same time remarkably humble. He was just a kind and generous man who, in my experience, never pushed himself to the front of the pack, but constantly built up others, pushed others to the front. And to me, it colored what leadership really is, right? It is the ability and taking, um, recognizing the benefits of reflected glory from the success of others was what he taught me. And it is inspired, hope, my leadership style. And again, he is just an individual that to me is was both a great mentor, a friend, and a true inspiration.
Yeah, those are two beautiful stories. Different parts of the world, different starts, and in a way, very similar.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Inspiring people. When you talked about your dad, it reminded me of Mr. Holland's Opus. If you ever saw that,
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
he doesn't
That's
realize how much of
exactly.
an impact they made, and bam, look at it.
Yeah. No,
Thank you a million for sharing those stories. Great stuff.
no. It's, thanks for having thanks for giving me the opportunity to do it, Mark.